thing about Ragusa is there's a lot to like, and in terms of the fact it's like a worker placement game, and this could have gone in so many different ways, and it could have just been the place your building down, get your resource, decide which buildings you're going to bring back into the fold again, and then the next round place more buildings. And I'd love to have seen the moment where Fabio sat there and went, what if we don't take the buildings back, and what if we just make it so that when you're placing, if you've placed a building there before and somebody else places a building, that you get to score that again. And what happens is, since we're placing buildings, let's place other things as well. Let's have kind of like miniature kind of expansions and little castles, and while we're building little castles and little buildings, let's build a wall. And it moves Ragusa on from being an actual physical manifestation of a game that's growing as it goes, which is a strange thing, because usually on worker placement, and I'll take, something like viticulture as an example, except for your own player board, which again has, these delightful beads on it. Generally in a worker placement game, you're almost like you're wiping the whiteboard down, and then everybody's kind of starting again. What's a kind of a delight about Ragusa is that as things kind of go, and it does seem like a cascade. You start off like almost in the woods, gathering wood so you can build like basic buildings, and by the time you're getting down to the port, you're literally kind of controlling the market and the fishmonger, and you're really kind of building yourself up a commerce to the point where the boats themselves are coming in to sell you their wares, because you become a merchant, you become successful. And just seeing the entire kind of game kind of build up, and the fact that the game doesn't really finish until people have kind of placed their last building, means that when you get to the end game point, you literally have like this wonderful looking city, this yes, we've been playing the game for kind of 2.5 hours, but it's kind of the result of everybody's hard work and thought and going together. And on the flip side of that, any mistakes that you've made, they don't easily, you just see them. I mean, you'll be staring at them. If you make a mistake kind of like early game, then you're going to be staring at a building, you're going to be hating on that building for literally for the rest of the game, because you know you made that mistake at that time. And one of the things is while the first rounds are relatively quick, the follow-up rounds as you go, because there's this wonderful kind of cascade effect where on certain spaces everybody gets to kind of like get advantage of that single square. You get longer turns start to crop up as you play, as you're kind of getting towards the end game, which for some people they might not like, but for me personally, there wasn't like literally millions and millions of rounds. There was enough rounds. You didn't feel like it was overstaying its welcome. You felt like it had its time, and then everybody did their calculations and everything was fine. And there can be kind of little surprises as the game goes again because of this cascading thing. There's just all these little touches that I love. I love the resource tracker. I love the fact that that you've got the smaller resources that are just saying, well, you've now got access to that, so you just have that all the time. And as you play the game and you increase the resources, that just stays. That's there. So you're not having to, it's not a case that you play your wonderful smashy-roo kind of combo, and then you're left, and this can be a problem with like some worker placement cards, is you play your hand, your big play, and that's what you're there for. And then you discover that you're literally knocked down to nothing again, and it allows everybody else to catch up. If you play your cards right here, or play your buildings right here, you've got the option to build yourself up like a steady way of building resources to work towards getting the ships, playing your buildings, bringing in your fish, and it all starts to mount up pretty quickly on the victory point stakes. It's just little impressive things. I'm really impressed with the rule book. Things annoy me about rule books, and one of the things that really annoy me about rule books is somebody who doesn't understand how people learn a game. And there's nothing worse than reading a rule book by somebody who knows that the rule book had to get made and really struggled with it, and obviously knows what they're trying to say, like me, but doesn't know how to fully articulate it. And in terms of Ragusa, it's almost like, there's your turn, somebody on the back, just to remind you. There's so many rule books that forget that, you know. But then in terms of even just like, you want to find out what the various things do, look at that. There's huge sections on what everything does with fantastic kind of explanations and following the iconography. And there's a couple of examples here. And, you know, this just goes to show to me that Braincrack actually, gave a shit when they were putting the rulebook together. They wanted you to play. They wanted this to be the kind of experience that people would enjoy, and we keep them from feeling kind of daunted when they kind of got this to the table. It's a good playtime. Hour and a half, 2 hours, potentially less, depending on the number of players. But everybody is almost got something to do because of this cascading effect. So even it could potentially, you could have 3 or 4 players there, but it might not be your turn. But then because this person has placed the building kind of here, it means that, there, it means that all of a sudden it does become your turn because it follows its way around and you've got an extra way of kind of scoring. There's like extra scoring for kind of like the building the city walls and having long city walls. There's the scoring for the boats. There's just the scoring for kind of trading in fish. Pleasantly surprised, I would say. A lot of lovely little touches. And yeah, I would say it's a definite. It's a nice little. It's a lovely game, well laid out, graphically beautiful. Table presence is wonderful. A lot of time for this game. So that's Ragusa from Braincrack Games. My name's Richard. This is We're Not Wizards. Remember, roll 6. I'm going to try and roll some walls. That didn't do anything. Expected. But make something awful. Until the next time, goodbye.